Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another Bite-Sized Buhl. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Kayla. I am a presenter in the Buhl Planetarium at the Carnegie Science Center. If you have joined us before, welcome back. We're so happy to have you here with us. And we're kicking off the week right with, of course, a little star tour. Now we are looking at the sky tonight as it will appear at 9 o'clock. Now, to be able to see these stars, you're going to want to make sure that you are outside of the city. In the city, we are subject to a lot of light pollution. Light pollution is created when all of our city lights shine up into the atmosphere, bounce off of dust particles and water vapor, and it blocks out our view of the stars. To get a view like you see on my screen here, you're going to want to travel about half an hour outside of the city. Now, the program I'm using today is called Stellarium. This is a free software that you can use at home on your computer or even your smartphone. So if you happen to have this app, go ahead and pull it up. Head to 9 o'clock tonight. You can follow along, or you can just watch my screen here. Now, if you have joined me before, you know that one of my favorite things to do is play a little game when I look up at the stars. I like to play a game I call star hopping. To start our star hopping game, I usually find 7 very bright, very easy to spot stars, and I use them to hop to other stars. Now, this time of year, our 7 stars are actually very low on the horizon. They're so low that you're only going to see 6 of them. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These 6 stars might make a familiar shape to you. They kind of look like a giant spoon in our night sky. These stars make up a shape that we often call the Big Dipper. Now, the Big Dipper is what we call an asterism, or a star picture that anyone can make up. All you need to do is connect a few dots in the sky and give it a name. Asterisms are different depending on where you are around the world. Here in the United States, we all agree the Big Dipper looks like a big spoon in the sky. But if we travel to different parts of the world, they use those same stars to tell different stories. Some areas thought they looked like a plow, a wagon, or a chariot. And it became very hard for early astronomers to be able to share information because we all called the same region of the sky by a different name. Until the International Astronomical Union made a map of our sky. They created 88 official constellations that would be recognized by astronomers worldwide. So no matter who you would talk to from around the world, when you would use the name of a constellation, they would know exactly what part of the sky you were looking in. Now, while the Big Dipper did not become an official constellation, it is inside of an official constellation. This constellation is Ursa Major, or the Big Bear. Now, if we have a big bear, what else do you think we'll find in our night sky? If we play our star hopping game, we're going to use these outer 2 stars in the bowl of the Big Dipper here. I like to call these my guide stars because they guide me to a lot of other constellations in the night sky. If we draw a line from the bottom to the top and out into space about 5 times the width of those stars, you'll land here. This is the most important nighttime star. Its name is Polaris, but you probably know it better as the North Star. And Polaris makes up the tail of another constellation here that we call the little bear. Now, in Greek myths, these two bears were beloved by the god Zeus, so much so that to keep them safe, he grabbed them by their tails, spun them around, and threw them up into our night sky, which is why they have these really long tails. I think that was just a good cover, because astronomers are not always good biologists. Now, Polaris is one of the most important nighttime stars in our sky, and though it looks very bright on our software here, in the night sky, this is actually a very dim star. Without the help of the Big Dipper, you might not find this star in the night sky. You could easily overlook it. But once you find it, you'll learn some key pieces of information to help you find your way around. The first is the direction you are facing. If you're looking towards Polaris, our north star, that means you're facing north. But there's another piece of information that this star can tell you. It can tell you what's called our latitude, or our distance above the equator on the globe. Now, to find your latitude when you're out in the night sky, you're going to take one hand and you're going to point up at Polaris. You're then going to take your other hand and you're going to point straight out in front of you towards where the sky seems to touch the earth. You should look something like this, like a hungry crocodile. But you're also making an angle with your arms. Now, if we measured that angle, it would be about a 40-degree angle if you're in Pittsburgh. That's because Pittsburgh is at 40 degrees latitude. If we traveled to, let's say, the North Pole, Polaris would be directly above you at a 90-degree angle. That's why this star is so special. It's positioned directly above our polar axis, making it a great guide in our night sky. But let's see if we can find a few more stars in our night sky here. If we continue the line from our guide stars out past Polaris, we'll come to this N shape here. This N shape is a constellation known as Cassiopeia. She is the queen of our night sky. And she's known for being a very vain queen, so you can see she has that mirror there. Now, our queen will point us to another constellation in our night sky. If we follow this line here, between these two stars, we will come to 5 little stars that kind of look like a sideways house shape or maybe a home plate. This is Cepheus. He is the king of the night sky. Our queen, our king, and our 2 bears here are part of a very special set of constellations. We call these Circumpolar Constellations, which is a very fancy way to say they're circling around Polaris. Now, if you watch these constellations move throughout the night, they would move in a giant circle around Polaris. And these constellations are very special here in Pittsburgh because they will never fully set below the horizon. If you went 24 hours in time, it would create a complete circle around Polaris. But I want to show you some seasonal constellations, ones that we'll only find this time of year. Now, to do that, we need to look in the opposite of the north. We need to look to the south. There we go. Now, this is where all of the action happens throughout the year. The southern part of the sky is constantly changing. and we are approaching my favorite time of the year to look up. While summer has very nice weather, the fall and winter skies are filled with so many different objects that you can see using just your eyes. We're going to start by locating probably the most famous constellation. I know it's one of the first constellations that I learned how to find in the night sky when I was learning to look up at the stars. He's very easy to spot. You just need to find the 3 stars that form his belt. This is Orion the Hunter. Now, Orion is what we call a winter constellation. Orion appears in our early evening sky in December, and he sticks around until the end of March. Orion is home to 2 very bright and beautiful stars. Located in his shoulder, you have a red star named Betelgeuse. You don't want to say that 3 times. And located in his knee is this blue star named Rigel. Now, when we look at a star's color, we learn a little bit more about that star. Which do you think is hotter, Betelgeuse or Rigel? Now, you would think, because usually everything here on Earth that's hot is red. If you look at your sink, you'll notice that the hot side is usually marked as red. But in terms of stars, blue is much hotter. Betelgeuse is about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit on its surface. But Rigel is about 20,000 degrees Fahrenheit on its surface. While these stars are both very, very hot, Rigel is much hotter. But Orion isn't just home to 2 very bright, beautiful examples of stars. It's also home to something that we call a deep sky object. A deep sky object is an object outside of our solar system that we can spot using just our eyes. To locate it, we're going to look below the belt of Orion. Now, I want you to imagine that there is a sheath for Orion's sword hanging off of the middle star in his belt. About halfway between his belt and his knees, you should see a fuzzy patch of light. This fuzzy patch of light is actually the Orion Nebula. Let's see if we can zoom in here. There we go. The Orion Nebula is actually a stellar nursery. This is an area where little baby stars are being born. Now, how are stars born? Well, it all starts with gas and dust that's floating around in space. That gas and dust will get pulled together by gravity, growing more massive and hotter until eventually a little star is born. Now, if you're lucky, soon after, a solar system will form. Now, Orion is also a very great guide to other stars in our sky. If we draw a line down through Orion's belt and down into space towards the horizon here, we will come to this very bright star. This bright star is named Sirius. It's found inside of Canis Major, the big dog. Now, Sirius is actually the brightest star in our night sky. And you may recognize a very famous Harry Potter character that was named after this star. This character's name is Sirius Black, and he's known for transforming into a dog. Now, once we find Sirius, we can swing up and to the left to another bright star named Procyon. Procyon is found inside of Canis Minor, the little dog. Now, if we continue a swinging motion here, we will come to two bright stars, Pollux and Castor. Pollux and Castor are Roman twins. They're found inside of the constellation of Gemini, the twins. Continuing our arc through the sky here, once we find Pollux and Castor, we'll swing on up to this bright star here named Capella. Capella is found inside of Auriga, the charioteer. And if we swing to the right, you'll find a bright reddish tinted star. This reddish tinted star is known as Aldebaran, or the Eye of the Bull. It's found inside of this kind of Y-shaped constellation known as Taurus the Bull. On the back of our bull, we will find another deep sky object. When you look up in the night sky, it'll look like a group of 6 or 7 stars that kind of look like a teeny tiny dipper. In ancient times, they used this as an eye test. If you had fairly average vision, you could see 6 stars, but if you could see 7 or more, you were said to be an amazing archer. Now this group of stars here is what we call the Pleiades. Let's see if we can target this here. Here we go. Let's get a better look. The Pleiades is what we call an open star cluster. Sometimes when stars are forming, they will get pulled together by gravity. They'll kind of move across the universe like a family. Now the gravity amongst these stars is actually very weak. So these stars are beginning to move away from each other. So someday in the distant future, the Pleiades will be no more. You may see some of this bluish haze forming around our stars here. Now what we're actually seeing is the light bouncing off of what we call a reflection nebula. So the light from all of these stars is producing that beautiful blue glow around them by bouncing off of that nebula. Now these 6 constellations form what we call the Winter Hexagon. The Winter Hexagon is another asterism that we will only see during the winter. So you'll see it from December all the way through March. Now you may have recognized 2 of the members of the Winter Hexagon here. You may have recognized Gemini and Taurus. You probably recognize them from astrology. In astrology, there are 12 symbols that they call the zodiac, and they're believed to represent different dates of birth. Now, they didn't just select 12 random symbols to represent the zodiac. They actually based it off of 12 very special constellations in our night sky that fall along a path that we call the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the apparent path that the sun and the moon that we can see here in Gemini appears to take from our perspective here on Earth. So once you find one zodiac constellation, if you swing towards the east or to the west, you can find the others that are up during that time of night. So if we swing to the west here, we will find Aries, the ram, and Pisces, the fish. Now, within Pisces, the fish is another object that we'll be able to spot. The ecliptic is not just the path of the sun and the moon from our perspective here on Earth, but it's also the path of the major planets in our solar system. If you ever want to spot a planet in the night sky, you want to make sure you look along the path of the zodiac. Throughout the year, there are 5 different planets you can spot using just your eyes. You will not need a telescope to catch a glimpse of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn. You just need to look up at the right time of night and time of year. Now tonight at 9 o'clock, there is one planet we're going to be able to spot. I'm going to teach you a little trick to finding it. When you're looking for planets in the night sky, you want to start by looking for bright points of light along the path of the zodiac. Once you locate that bright point of light for several seconds, you want to see whether or not that light appears to twinkle. Stars will twinkle in our night sky, but planets will not. So if you find a light along the path of the zodiac that doesn't appear to be twinkling, you may have spotted a planet. Now to find our planet tonight, we're going to look towards Pisces, the fish. And you may notice something a little special about this planet here. This planet kind of has a reddish color. This is the red planet, Mars. Oh, there we go, Mars. Now Mars is not red because of its temperature. It's actually a very, very cold planet. It's red because of rusty iron in the rocks. We like to call Mars rusty, crusty, and dusty. Mars is one of the most explored planets in our solar system. We have sent plenty of robots and probes, all types of equipment to learn more about our planetary neighbor. There's another mission that is heading to Mars right now. This mission is called Perseverance. It's going to be landing on February 18th, so about 51 days from now. This is a very exciting mission because once Perseverance lands, it's going to be searching for signs of ancient life. It's also going to be drilling up some samples, some core samples here of Mars that future astronauts will hopefully be able to bring back to Earth so that we can learn more about Mars. One of the really amazing things about Perseverance is that it's not actually traveling alone. Perseverance has a little tiny robot with it that's about the size of a softball. This robot is a drone that will drop out of Perseverance every morning and kind of scout the day ahead. It'll be looking for any other signs of life. It'll be looking for any things that may be in Perseverance's path and plot out the course for the entire day. We're very excited about that mission to be landing. Now, we have covered an awful lot of material in this short period of time. We are only scratching the surface. In the night sky, there are 88 official constellations that we can see using just our eyes. When you look up, you'll be able to see thousands of stars, distant galaxies and nebula, and of course with telescopes you can spot a whole lot more. But this is just our bite-sized Buhl for this morning. I hope you all enjoyed our little tour of the night sky. I hope you all have a very happy new year. We look forward to seeing you all again soon. Make sure you check out our Facebook page and the Carnegie Science Center website for some other information, some fun things to do, and of course to always keep up to date on what's going on in the Buhl Planetarium. I hope you all have a very amazing day and a very happy new year. Thank you all for joining me this morning.